It's the Awake Space. I'm Laurie Rivers, your host, here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world. What a week! What a week it's been. Did you guys see that Golden Tempo won the Belmont? Coming from behind again. That horse, that trainer. We've had Hope Corps in 2026. Don't let them take it from you. This week, we've got the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I'm going to be talking about that. And I'm also writing an article in the Awake Space community in the Patreon. And you may have been hearing about Patreon because the CEO and co-founder, Jack Conte, was in the headlines a lot this week because he said, sue me, to Bricks and Minifigs, who allegedly were refusing to make good on a deal with a man dying of cancer. Jack Conte stood up for a content creator kind of championing the situation. And so I had members come in and go, oh my God, this is why Laurie keeps bragging about Patreon. I'm like, yes, yes. And it didn't get rid of its diversity and inclusion policies, and it hasn't caved to supporting creatives in their expression. And I think it's an important thing. It's not just your regular corporation. So it's funny when things get big, people tend to be like, oh, tear it down. They haven't gotten too big for their britches, basically. They're there with a mission and a purpose. I've got cool stuff coming up this week with that Venus-Jupiter conjunction, and I tell you, I did not do this on purpose. It's how it worked out. So on Tuesday, which is June 9th, I am going to be recording Healing the Money Wound, the framework for rebuilding confidence, value, and wealth, my book, in studio with an audio engineer who actually knows what he's doing. I'm very excited about that. That was one of my main objectives being here in London. So if you're in our community, you'll get some BTS and fun stuff. But anyway, that happens on the day of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. You should be feeling it a little bit as we are recording here on a Sunday. You've probably been feeling it come on, and there may be this magnifying lens to your security. And I'll talk about that on the podcast. Amy Philbin is my guest this week. She has built her life on purpose. She is another woman of a certain age, and we've been mutuals in TikTok for quite a few years. We reached out to one another. She's in Crete. I'm here in London. I'm not here full time. She is, and she has built her life on purpose. So we had a wonderful interview a couple of weeks ago, and you guys get to enjoy that this week. And I want to talk about Hope Core with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I think that's important. I think when I took a break from recording segments for this episode, I was on TikTok scrolling, and I've had to powder my nose and blow my nose because watching the trainer for Golden Tempo just, I mean, that's me when I'm at like one of my kids' games or something, it's like, come on, come on. Some of you got to watch that as we were voting for my brother in an art competition. And we were getting down to the last thing. I'm like, come on, Seabiscuit. Watching that team, watching them come from behind, watching them do it again, from the jockey to the trainer to the horse to the owners, you could tell they're just kind of in it together. We need that right now. And that is exactly what the news and the media, the mainstream especially, is trying to rob us of. And that is what the paid influencers are trying to rob you of. And even some of those who aren't paid, who just get clicks because negativity sells. It's a hard balance. I know as a content creator, if I come in calm and at ease and everything's going to be okay, I don't get clicks. Nobody cares. You scroll on because your dopamine isn't getting hit in the same way. So I was like, well, I still don't want to scare people, so I need to be maybe more animated, which is pretty hard when you're kind of a low-key person. Right now, you need to take responsibility for your own dopamine hits, and you need to stop being compelled in by the bad news. There's always bad news. You are not living in the worst time in history. You're literally not. You're literally not. It's just you haven't studied enough history to know what the worst time is. You have so much more comfort and ease, even on a bad day, most of you listening to this podcast. Because the people who don't have that privilege can't listen to this podcast that are alive now. They don't have the tech. Maybe they're listening somewhere in a developing country because somebody has something they can listen to. And if that's the case, I am not talking about you if you're in that situation. But if you are able to listen to this on your phone or your computer or your tablet or your TV, whatever, I always think it's weird when people tell me they're watching me on YouTube. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Okay. You have a level of comfort that your ancestors couldn't dream of. And I'm not saying, oh, be grateful and don't complain. I'm just saying, don't let them convince you or rob you of the privilege you actually have achieved. Okay. We all deserve comfort. And that's what this Venus Jupiter conjunction is all about. You want to head over to the link in the show notes for the article. Hope is a great elixir, guys. Hang on. But don't attach to outcomes. Just when you see things that lift you up and inspire you, just enjoy it, savor it, milk it for the moment. But stop saying, I can only be happy if X, Y, and Z happen. Just enjoy the moment where you're inspired. Enjoy the moment where you're like, that feels good. Just take it. It's just like having a really good piece of chocolate cake. Okay. You don't think about the next 10 pieces of chocolate cake. Just enjoy the one you've got, or you rob yourself of that present moment experience. All right. Get your tea, get your coffee, get your matcha, get your. And whether we are doing the laundry, putting away the dishes, if I'm your body double, maybe you're getting ready for some family celebrations, getting geared up for Father's Day, or looking to go camping, taking a drive, moving on a road trip, or heading into work. We're going to do it together. My goodness, it's been a week. It's been really interesting. I'm finally back to feeling better. I think you can hear it. I'm not as congested and I don't have that chesty cough. That was terrible. I was like, please, 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 please let me not be chesty before I record. I know I'm going to need more than 8 hours in the recording studio, but we're going to start with that. So I'm really excited. Living by Luna, it's too visual a book. The journaling process is too visual a book, so I'm not going to record it there. What I'm doing is making companion videos and some information to help supplement what's in the book. I'm excited about that. Can we put all the things out at the same time? Sure. Sure, why not? Why not add more to the plate? I know everybody wants to know when it is going to be, and I still have no answers for you on that. It's not ethical, first of all, to look for it, but let's say we throw our ethics out. You really don't see it in somebody's natal chart. You really have to look elsewhere for that. With modern medicine, and that's the thing that I've really learned in the last couple of years, was the modern medicine, because like Mitch McConnell should be gone. Okay. It's not just who must not be named. Mitch McConnell should be gone. He really should. And so why not? Why isn't he? And I'm like modern medicine. And as we saw, there was an article about Marjorie Taylor Greene going to Mexico, getting stem cells. Well, she was privy to all kinds of information as a representative in the House of Representatives. And my guess is people are talking about the modern medicine and stem cells playing a role. I will say the current transits when it comes to the orange one aren't great. They aren't great. And Saturn is about to retrograde and it will move back into an active square. It's in a separating square from his Mercury right now. And he's going to get a lot more sleepy. He's going to have a lot more evidence of maybe TIAs or strokes. Whether that does him in is another story, you know. So And I will tell you, it will not solve the problems. In fact, the chaos that might ensue could get interesting. So it's going to be a wild and woolly summer. And as we move through June, we'll talk about how to get ready for that July 3rd Mars-Uranus conjunction in Gemini. It's a little weird. It's a little weird, and it's going to be weird. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the thing everybody else thinks it's going to be. I don't. I just don't. And I'm looking at 2027, getting ready for June 28th, 2027 preparation and prediction event where everybody who signs up, they don't just get the recording and the Q&A session and recording of that. The only people who ever get that are people who have registered for the event. Even if you can't attend, you get that Q&A recording, and there's usually really interesting information on those. And then we'll have the 2027 astrology planner, and that'll go out as a digital copy. I will have a print copy made for that, but the attendees get the digital version. And then I'll send a link out on the physical. I'm getting ready for that, looking at charts. That takes a lot of time. And you're like, Laurie, when do you sleep? I do. I do. I sleep. I sleep once in a while. So there's a lot going on. We're going to look at the Venus-Jupiter conjunction and you. And I'm writing an article for the Patreon to talk about that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I had a lot of people ask me about Andre Barbeau. I wrote an article in the Awake Space magazine, and you can check that out in the Awake Space community or in the show notes. If you don't want to subscribe, that's cool. I get it. If you want a copy of the magazine, you can purchase that. This month I used a picture from the Chelsea Flower Show. I've been putting pictures from Sedona on the cover, but this month I used the Chelsea Flower Show because there was a moon. There was a moon right across from where I'm staying, and I thought, how appropriate, because my street wasn't decorated as much as the streets closer to the show. So I just thought, wow, how cool. So let's talk about that Venus Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. So you can see we have Venus conjunct Jupiter, but the thing, and that is a boon. There's no real stress from that conjunction. Venus and Jupiter are pretty much unaspected here. I don't use wide orbs. I use between 8 and 6 degrees. I do not go out to 10. There's no reason for that. That's a lot of trying to make something happen. But what we do have is we have Mercury and Saturn in a square. They are squared. That's a little interesting to me. While at the same time, Mercury is moving into a sextile with Mars. So it's a very active day. On a personal level, you can have a great day. And it's true. On a personal level, you can have a great day. This Venus-Jupiter conjunction, and again, you can read the article in the Awake Space community where I break down where it's happening in a chart and how you can use that energy. There's going to be probably some interesting financial news, probably around interest rates, probably around currencies, probably around security. And if you are focusing on security in the wrong ways, you're making a problem for yourself. If you lean into the narrative that they want you to lean into, which is fear, things will be a lot harder than you want them to be. If you lean into the narrative where you can count your blessings, where you can count your skills, your attributes. I mean, speaking of rebuilding confidence, value, and wealth, it's about bringing our understanding inside instead of allowing other people to assign it for us. Because when we let other people assign our value to us, that's where we get into trouble. So with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction, we want to be able to let that focal lens that Jupiter is magnify what we already appreciate and have assets, because things can appreciate with this. And when we appreciate ourselves, we're valuing ourselves, right? So when you buy an antique. Like I bought an antique ring, right? These are both antique rings. All right. I bought them when a jeweler was going out of business and they were part of the estate sale collection. And I got a good price for them. They appreciate over time. They gain in value when we appreciate ourselves, our talents, our skills, what we're good at. We're able to grow in value over time when you're allowing other people to assess your value and like because we've all been trained for that in the job market, right? When if somebody doesn't pick you, I'm not valuable. They say I'm not worth it, right? And we do it in dating and we do it, all that talk about what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? Whatever. What are you bringing to the table? Know what you're bringing to the table. Know what table you want to sit at. Know what table you want to build. I'm not saying you can magically think your way into making things happen, but with this energy, we are quite able to create better conditions for ourselves, or at least more comfortable conditions. It isn't about becoming a gajillionaire, it's about being comfortable. So that's something super duper important to put forward. Alrighty. Um, and again, you can go read that article in the Awake Space community. I'll put a link to it in the show notes if you want to see what that can do for you. I'll put it in a little newsletter. We'll get a newsletter out this week. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on what's going on. And literally, thank you to all of my community members for being patient while I wasn't feeling well because I really wasn't. Yeah. I didn't need to go halfway around the world to get sick, but apparently I did. As Betty said, Betty's a community member. She was like, "Yeah, but you've been going so hard that I'm not surprised because I haven't taken any time off in the last 6 years. I've just been go, go, go." And funny enough, our bodies don't like that. So let's look at some current events and we'll talk about Albania and Jared Kushner because my spidey senses are up on that one. That's not the astrology. That's just my spidey senses are like, what's going to happen with that? And it's interesting that they're going to be auditing him. And we'll see what comes of that. We'll see what comes of that. Man, it is one big heist globally. So, and it's not just, Rumpeltrumpskin. It's there's a lot of people I think involved, a lot of people financially involved, a lot of people standing to gain by this, and some of them are billionaires, some of them are wannabe billionaires. My goodness, it's been a week. It's been really interesting. I'm finally back to feeling better. I think you can hear it. I'm not as congested and I don't have that chesty cough. That was terrible. I was like, please, 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 please let me not be chesty before I record. I know I'm going to need more than 8 hours in the recording studio, but we're going to start with that. So I'm really excited. Living by Luna, it's too visual a book. The journaling process is too visual a book, so I'm not going to record it there. What I'm doing is making companion videos and some information to help supplement what's in the book. I'm excited about that. Can we put all the things out at the same time? Sure. Sure, why not? Why not add more to the plate? I know everybody wants to know when it is going to be, and I still have no answers for you on that. It's not ethical, first of all, to look for it, but let's say we throw our ethics out. You really don't see it in somebody's natal chart. You really have to look elsewhere for that. With modern medicine, and that's the thing that I've really learned in the last couple of years, was the modern medicine, because like Mitch McConnell should be gone. Okay. It's not just who must not be named. Mitch McConnell should be gone. He really should. And so why not? Why isn't he? And I'm like modern medicine. And as we saw, there was an article about Marjorie Taylor Greene going to Mexico, getting stem cells. Well, she was privy to all kinds of information as a representative in the House of Representatives. And my guess is people are talking about the modern medicine and stem cells playing a role. I will say The current transits, when it comes to the orange one, aren't great. They aren't great. And Saturn is about to retrograde and it will move back into an active square. It's in a separating square from his Mercury right now. And he's going to get a lot more sleepy. He's going to have a lot more evidence of maybe TIAs or strokes. Whether that does him in is another story, you know. So, and I will tell you, it will not solve the problems. In fact, the chaos that might ensue could get interesting. So it's going to be a wild and woolly summer. And as we move through June, we'll talk about how to get ready for that July 3rd Mars-Uranus conjunction in Gemini. It's a little weird. It's a little weird, and it's going to be weird. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the thing everybody else thinks it's going to be. I don't. I just don't. And I'm looking at 2027, getting ready for June 28th, 2027 preparation and prediction event where everybody who signs up, they don't just get the recording and the Q&A session and recording of that. The only people who ever get that are people who have registered for the event. Even if you can't attend, you get that Q&A recording, and there's usually really interesting information on those. And then we'll have the 2027 astrology planner, and that'll go out as a digital copy. I will have a print copy made for that, but the attendees get the digital version. And then I'll send a link out on the physical. I'm getting ready for that, looking at charts. That takes a lot of time. And you're like, Laurie, when do you sleep? I do. I do. I sleep. I sleep once in a while. So there's a lot going on. We're going to look at the Venus-Jupiter conjunction and you. And I'm writing an article for the Patreon to talk about that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I had a lot of people ask me about Andre Barbeau. I wrote an article in the Awake Space magazine, and you can check that out in the Awake Space community or in the show notes. If you don't want to subscribe, that's cool. I get it. If you want a copy of the magazine, you can purchase that. This month I used a picture from the Chelsea Flower Show. I've been putting pictures from Sedona on the cover, but this month I used the Chelsea Flower Show because there was a moon. There was a moon right across from where I'm staying, and I thought, how appropriate, because my street wasn't decorated as much as the streets closer to the show. So I just thought, wow, how cool. So let's talk about that Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. So you can see we have Venus conjunct Jupiter, but the thing, and that is a boon. There's no real stress from that conjunction. Venus and Jupiter are pretty much unaspected here. I don't use wide orbs. I use between 8 and 6 degrees. I do not go out to 10. There's no reason for that. That's a lot of trying to make something happen. But what we do have is we have Mercury and Saturn in a square. They are squared. That's a little interesting to me. While at the same time, Mercury is moving into a sextile with Mars. So it's a very active day. On a personal level, you can have a great day. And it's true. On a personal level, you can have a great day. This Venus-Jupiter conjunction, and again, you can read the article in the Awake Space community where I break down where it's happening in a chart and how you can use that energy. There's going to be probably some interesting financial news, probably around interest rates, probably around currencies, probably around security. And if you are focusing on security in the wrong ways, you're making a problem for yourself. If you lean into the narrative that they want you to lean into, which is fear, things will be a lot harder than you want them to be. If you lean into the narrative where you can count your blessings, where you can count your skills, your attributes. I mean, speaking of rebuilding confidence, value, and wealth, It's about bringing our understanding inside instead of allowing other people to assign it for us. Because when we let other people assign our value to us, that's where we get into trouble. So with this Venus Jupiter conjunction, we want to be able to let that focal lens that Jupiter is magnify what we already appreciate and have assets, because things can appreciate with this. And when we appreciate ourselves, we're valuing ourselves, right? So when you buy an antique. Like I bought an antique ring, right? These are both antique rings. All right. I bought them when a jeweler was going out of business and they were part of the estate sale collection, and I got a good price for them. They appreciate over time. They gain in value. When we appreciate ourselves, our talents, our skills, what we're good at, we're able to grow in value over time. When you're allowing other people to assess your value, and like, because we've all been trained for that in the job market, right? When if somebody doesn't pick you, I'm not valuable. They say I'm not worth it, right? And we do it in dating, and we do it, all that talk about what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? Whatever. What are you bringing to the table? Know what you're bringing to the table. Know what table you want to sit at. Know what table you want to build. I'm not saying you can magically think your way into making things happen, but with this energy, we are quite able to create better conditions for ourselves, or at least more comfortable conditions. It isn't about becoming a gajillionaire, it's about being comfortable. So that's something super duper important to put forward. Alrighty. Um, and again, you can go read that article in the Awake Space community. I'll put a link to it in the show notes if you want to see what that can do for you. I'll put it in a little newsletter. We'll get a newsletter out this week. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on what's going on. And literally, thank you to all of my community members for being patient while I wasn't feeling well, because I really wasn't. Yeah. I didn't need to go halfway around the world to get sick, but apparently I did. As Betty said, Betty's a community member. She was like, "Yeah, but you've been going so hard that I'm not surprised, because I haven't taken any time off in the last 6 years. I've just been go, go, go." And funny enough, our bodies don't like that. So let's look at some current events, and we'll talk about Albania and Jared Kushner, because my spidey senses are up on that one. That's not the astrology. That's just my spidey senses are like, what's going to happen with that? And it's interesting that they're going to be auditing him. And we'll see what comes of that. We'll see what comes of that. Man, it is one big heist globally. So, and it's not just, Rumpeltrumpskin. It's there's a lot of people, I think, involved, a lot of people financially involved, a lot of people standing to gain by this, and some of them are billionaires, some of them are wannabe billionaires. All right, let's give you some community updates. Just because I've been traveling doesn't mean I haven't been touching base with community members. I've been going live. In fact, I've done quite a few lives. You missed me schnockered though. I went shopping. I don't tend to go shopping much. I went shopping, and I went to a nice store to get a bag. I haven't bought myself a nice bag since I was like 21. Okay. I was always taking care of the kids. I was always, I chose me last. Okay, sue me. There's a reason I teach what I teach. But I went to go get one, and there was a sale, and they gave me champagne. And I was a little schnockered because I don't drink. And so I went live, and it was a good live. No, I did not repost that one. We don't need to repost me in the cups. By the way, it took like that much champagne to get me, because I literally do not drink. So I just don't. Once in a while, I'll have some bourbon, but wine and champagne get me. It was good champagne though. But yeah, so what's up in our community? Well, the magazine is out, horoscopes are up, predictions are out. I make about 495 predictions per month. Getting out the discount code for readings at Woke Astrology. I will be getting that group reading up where people can have a more accessible way of meeting with me, up to 10 people. And then for the Woke Astrology crew, if you want to have 1 hour consultations, you'll have your special discount there. If you are a brand new member, you can save 50% on annual subscriptions. It's well worth it. And let's see, let's go to our latest patrons. So we've got Dakota, Michelle, Shells, the Community Garden, Barbara, Priyanka. Hang on, I just lost my place. John, Jen, Heather, Riley, Stephanie. We've got Stephanie. We have two Stephanie B's. Okay, so but they're not the same person. So we've got Stephanie B and Stephanie A B. Katsarina, Amethyst, Lisa, Leah, Leo. Leo. I don't think it's Leo, but you can make fun of me for that. We got Nikki, Ariel, Danielle, Melissa, Daniela, Jonesy, Claire, Camiosis, Marjorie, Blanca, Mariah or Maria. It depends on how you pronounce it. Laura, and Mike. Welcome, welcome, welcome as the newest members of the Awake Space community. Lots of good stuff coming. Hold tight. Now that I'm feeling better. And again, thank you for your well wishes and any of the positive vibes you've been sending. That was great. Right. We have an international edition. I am still in London and I have the wonderful Amy Philbin with me coming in from Crete. Amy.
Hello. Hi, Laurie. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited.
Good.
We met on TikTok.
We and I feel like this is a long time coming in one way or another that we finally
Right.
connected. So yeah. So thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
back in those 2020 days, 2020, 2021, when it was still good.
Yes, when virality was easy.
Right. Telling me. Um, so weird thing. We were both born in Portland, Oregon.
I know. I know. I
We
thought
had
that
no
was
idea.
really wild. We had no idea. Yeah.
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
no.
And it's funny because when I think of those old days of TikTok, like you're always one of the first people that I think of because I feel like we
Right.
had the same
Same.
trajectory, like a little
Yeah.
bit, and you'd come to
Yeah.
my lives and I'd come to your lives. And then
Right.
yeah, it was like this unfolding of the things that we didn't know about each other that we've been discovering, which has been great. So yeah.
Right. Which is like, well, no wonder we vibe. We're both PDXers.
No wonder we knew.
We remember
Yes.
Portland in the 90s,
Oh my
in the
gosh, the best of
80s.
times.
Oh
Yes,
God, it was
100%. It was the best.
uh it really was. I
Clubbing in
miss
the 90s
roses.
was roses. Yes, yes. And also, did you ever go to the Monte Carlo over off
Yes.
of Belmont? That was like
Yes.
the most iconic place to go dancing. It was great. That
Right.
was so fun.
Very. And
Yeah.
Oz up in the Seattle area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had
Hmm.
underage dance clubs, folks.
And we also used to take road trips in one night from Portland to Seattle to go clubbing and then turn back around at 2 a.m. and drive all the way back to
Oh,
Portland.
hell yeah.
At least I did. So yeah.
No, did that. Also would go to the coast.
Yes.
We'd go to the
Mm-hmm.
coast and sometimes just stop like midway between the coast and Portland and get out, lay on the hood of the car and watch the stars.
Yes.
That's what you did when you
Yes.
didn't have your phone attached to you.
Yes. Also, I
Mhm.
don't know if you ever did this, but one of my favorite gazing and maybe skinny dipping places was Timothy Lake up by
Yes.
Mount Hood or Mount
Yeah,
Hood.
Mount
I
Hood.
used to
Yeah,
drive up there and stargaze and camp and do some
absolutely.
night
I
swimming.
taught
So it was
my
great.
son how to pee on a tree at Timothy Lake back in
That's funny.
1998. No,
Oh
99.
my,
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
he was 3.
Yeah. We were
Yes.
swimming in the same energetic vibrations and circles,
Right?
probably. So yeah,
Oh
that's so
yeah. No, we
funny.
went camping for the 4th of July weekends and he's a Taurus rising and could not get him to go into the vault toilet for he was like and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna teach you a boy secret and it's how to pee outside. My friend was tearing down the tent and because I was there with my best friend and her husband. So he was tearing down the tent and he heard me as I'm like, aim for the tree, not for your shoes, aim for the tree, not for your shoes. And
Good
he was
chance.
just howling and he goes, how do you know? And I was like, well, A, it's not a secret, but B, I have a little brother. Speaking
Camped
of,
a time or two.
I want to give my brother a shout out real quick. Uh,
Absolutely.
and we're just gonna yap and we'll get to the point in a minute.
And that this
Fair
and yeah,
point. We kind of live by our own rules. PDX. So
Aquarius North Node.
right. There we go. We're just having you live your purpose. My
Yes.
brother is an artist in Portland. His name is Errol Rivers. He has a bit of a cult following out there. He is currently in first place, or was last I checked, in the Art of Elysium's competition. Everybody in my community has been voting for him, plus his own people. But
Yes.
he is a phenomenal artist. I connected him to the dean of admissions for the Royal College of Art. When I was in college, he was 16. He sent me a picture he drew, and it was a hand. And I had taken enough art, history, and theory courses that I went, wow, my useless little brother appears to have some talent. So I took it
I
to,
detect a skill.
right, wow, he's good for something. I was 19. Anyway, I took it to Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith was blown away. He was like, how old is he? I'm like, he's 16. I think he has some talent. I could be wrong. I'm not an art specialist,
Yeah.
but he was so excited. And his son worked at Nike. This is 1988, 89, 88.
Hmm.
And he was going back to see his son in Portland. He gave my brother all the entrance exams. He was accepted to the Royal College of Art program, but it got canceled for lack of admission. That man moved heaven and earth to get Errol into Richmond's Florence,
Uh,
Italy. So he started his art studies true in
wow.
Florence. So anyway, he's I just want to thank everybody for voting for him. He honestly he's very much an artist. He's like, if I win, it's more paint. If I don't, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
People are thinking of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, so we live on our own time schedule, don't we?
Yes, we do. I do
What
have a
did you?
question about what you just said. Can I ask a
Okay.
question? What was it in your family system that gave both of you such a worldly perspective? Because it seems that both of you were navigating the unknown and the abroad energies at a young age. What was that about?
I mean, well, one, I led by example, right? I was the one who went out and trailblazed traveling, and he was coming up behind me.
Oh
But
yeah.
we had a family library. Our family could read on one side. And if you come, I think people don't understand the power of reading. And so I grew up with
Yes.
a family library with abolitionist literature. That was
Yeah.
first edition. This was what my great great greats were reading. They were transcendentalists. They were, and it wasn't like that was passed down
Yeah.
verbally.
Right.
The Enlightenment had skipped a few,
Yeah. Of course.
but but I grew up with that literature, and so did my brother. We just had it around us. We would go to the
Yeah.
Oregon City Library,
Yeah.
because that was our
Okay.
closest library. And it was a Carnegie library, and the books were old. So I
Yeah.
grew up reading Manly P. Hall, Norman Vincent Peale,
Mm,
Annie Besant, Rudolf Steiner. I
yes.
was all there, and nobody
Yeah.
cared what you were reading.
Yeah.
Nobody paid
Okay.
attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that was it. Our dad had traveled in the
100%.
military and had a lot of cool stories about the seeing things in faraway places. It wasn't the norm. As you know, you
Yeah.
grew up, you're a contemporary. People didn't
Yes.
leave
Yes.
unless they were really rich. I don't know. I think, and we both have ninth house sons,
Oh,
are
there you go.
Aries.
Yeah.
Hmm. He's an
There you
Aries.
go.
I'm a Cancer. So we're
Yes.
both philosophers. I'll get him on the
Yes.
podcast. because he and I can have really, we don't have to mask around each other,
Yes.
and we have the weirdest conversations.
Yeah. As every
So,
sibling should.
right, yeah. And not that we didn't fight, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the only past life memory I have of my brother is him and I being gladiators back to back. And it may not have been gladiators,
Wow.
sorry, it probably centurions. We were fighting
Uh-huh.
together, not at each other, but we were back to back. There was maybe 20, 30 people around us. There was this knowing you're going to die and you're taking as many out with you. And the memory is so clear of us going, we're going down together, but we're going to crack
Yeah.
some heads.
Wow.
And that
Yeah.
sums up our relationship.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like we
Interesting.
came in together to have each other's backs, but we could
Huh?
fight like hell. And we
Yeah.
don't fight anymore. We're very
Yeah.
gentle with each other
Yeah.
now. We're like,
Of course.
no, we're gonna be nice. Gentle touch.
No more Charlie horses.
No more monkey bumps.
So we're good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you and I mean, we're contemporaries. We come from
Yes.
this really cool thought space. I mean, Portland was a very,
I, yes. I
you
know.
know,
And I'm actually struck by what you're saying. Like, I grew up in a very philosophical, learned, my library kind of a house. Like, that was exactly like my upbringing as well. But I think that was also just influenced by the geography of it. Like, Portland is such an intellectual city, the heart
yeah,
of Powell's books, even being there, and
right.
my dad used to take me to get to Powell's books, then to get French bread. And
Right.
then,
Oh,
it was
nice.
this little tradition. But yeah, I think there is something about coming from that type of background with, growing up with books and literature. And, one of my dad's presents to me at one point was The Passion of the Western Mind by Richard
Oh,
Tarnas.
wow.
And I think that
Wow.
was one of the first editions of that book. And
Mm-hmm.
I read that really heavily influenced, even my work today. And so
Mm-hmm.
we both share that same background as well. So that's interesting.
I think
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
Yeah. And people too were doing astrology. I mean, all over Portland, I think even before it was a little more
The Pacific
offbeat.
Northwest
Yeah.
had an enclave of metaphysicians that goes back to like the 20s. And Mark Edmund
Oh,
Jones, the great astrologer, most famously now known for Sabian symbols, but he was far
yes, that's right.
beyond.
Sounds
Yeah.
familiar. Yes.
He lived in Stanwood, Washington, which is the closest town to where I lived on Camino Island. You had to drive off the
Oh,
island.
wow.
Stanwood. His
Okay.
publishing company was there for years.
Oh, I had no idea.
Me either,
I
till
had
I opened it and
no
went, wait a
idea.
minute, Stanwood?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the Pacific Northwest,
Interesting.
and somebody
Yeah.
explained it to me like that has a lot of ley lines, which it does.
Yes.
Um, And I found out later from my mom on her side. So my dad's side was they were the readers and the educated. And on my
Mm-hmm.
mom's side, not so much, but um they were very woo-woo. So like my great grandmother, I don't know that she could read. She was a spiritualist. I had no idea. Not the one I always talk about, but
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mom's other grandma from her
Mm-hmm.
dad's side. There were healers and witches, but they weren't talked about that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Of
It was
course. Of
just,
course not.
Aunt
Yeah.
Susie will get rid of your wart,
Yes.
that kind of thing.
Oh, that's so
Mm.
funny. Yes.
Yeah. How weird. So
Interesting.
given I don't find it a surprise we resonated given we do come from that same space because it was a very specific subculture of the United States.
It
Um,
was.
and you can almost feel out your peeps from there, because
Yes.
I don't think, and tell me what you think on this. I
Yes.
don't think we had as defined a social role as a woman, at least in our youth.
No, I don't think
Hmm.
so either. No, I was encouraged. Yeah, even from a very young
Hmm.
age. Like we grew up with on a horse farm that was next door to us, and so yeah, for all intents and purposes, I was a tomboy, and it was encouraged of me that I, try as many
Hmm.
things as I can and just be. My mom used to lock us outside she had four of us, and she would lock us out and be like, go use your imagination. And
Oh
so
yeah.
we
Hmm.
really had there wasn't I wasn't raised with any type of role actually. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, because like my grandma was just as good at splitting kindling as my grandpa, like what needed doing, when did it need doing, did it need doing,
Yeah.
now do it,
Yes.
so you could,
Absolutely.
and her face was perfect,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I think we had a different, just because of the way the Northwest was. And and you were
Mhm.
little because you're a couple years younger than me, but in the
Mhm.
70s, we still weren't developed. Like all the stuff you see in Seattle now or in Beaverton, none of that existed in our childhoods.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't overdeveloped. It was still a lot of farms, natural land,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
people fished and hunted and hiked, and it didn't matter the gender.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
how
And
do
I
you,
think,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Oh, I think too, like, my mom also, when I think about even her journey, also, like, she was very educated. Like, I think she had a couple different master's degrees, even, which I think was maybe unusual for that time as well.
Very,
So that was always, that bar being set for me that we really could do anything. So yeah.
yeah. Then you go to the rest of the world. Um, that was grand disillusionment. But
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
oh God. But I'm like, oh yeah. But it
Yep.
was, it was, it was a very, I don't even, it wasn't even on purpose or force. It's just how it was. I don't ever
Yeah.
remember it being like an agenda. It's just
Yeah.
even conservative people, that wasn't part of what made them conservative,
Right.
or they'd be
Right.
taunted. People have been like, what is your
Hmm.
problem? You got
Hmm.
hands, go cook, you know?
Yeah. But I think
So
also just by nature of the geography there, even it was like that's what we did. We went hiking, we went fishing, we went, you know what I mean? That was the
yeah,
creative.
it was
That's
everywhere.
how the mythopoetic manifested in our lives was that way. And so yeah, my mom was a participant in all of that as well too. And so
Yeah,
we had a garden and we all were equally working in
yeah,
them and whatever. So yeah.
yeah. And everybody recycled, even in the 70s.
Yes.
It wasn't
I remember that.
like we're recycling now. And I'm like, now? Now?
I know. Yeah. Composting, and my dad had solar panels on the house.
Right,
That was in the 80s. And so yeah,
right,
it's interesting. I don't know that they ever worked, but he gave it his best shot. So yeah.
right.
And that was when it was not political to do so. It was just an idea. Like, why don't we
It
use
was
this
just an
fund?
idea. Like, let's see if we can do this better. Right,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, given we both have this odd background and we choose to live life to our own drummer or percussion section,
Yes.
uh, and if you guys are wondering, we're going to work for a sponsorship. I want a sponsorship by Jakeman's. These are throat lozenges and throat and chest, and they work. This so I don't cough all over Amy.
Yes. And I can attest to this because she was coughing
Right.
prior to the podcast and now she's not.
I want these to
So there you
sponsor.
go.
So Jakeman, sponsor me. All right. How much do you think, and have you ever thought about it, of that early environment driving this need for independence and to live life on life's terms, on your terms?
Um, all of it was this very early forging of my own path. I think, part of it was the role that I played in my family system. And then the other part of it was just my Scorpio rising and also a rebellious nature that I've had for my entire life about, a quest for really living in the truth. And so I think that that has inspired most of the things that I've done in my life. But the early on, those formative impressions that I have, I can see today where it really shaped who I am, even as far as like astrology and coaching, right? I remember
Right,
like sitting on my dad's lap and like Rob Brenzi's horoscopes, and then Ann Landers
right,
would be right underneath that. And I was like, that
right.
would be like, that's what I would be really good at is this Gemini
Right,
Virgo stuff, and then also telling people how to live their lives. And so those early years really have shaped where I am today for sure. And then access to
right,
the information as well at that age. So yeah,
right.
yeah.
I love that.
So
So you
yeah.
you also do astrology and coaching, and you work with astrologers, right? In helping them get started marketing their businesses, right?
Yes. Astrology's coaches or astrologers, coaches, intuitives, just anybody that
Right,
wants
tarot
to.
readers. I mean, you were on TikTok pulling cards during the
Yeah.
lockdowns. What's that about?
Yeah. I met a girl, her name was Bree. Shout out to Bree. I met a girl above Albuquerque in a hot air balloon, and
Hmm.
we were in this hot air balloon together. She was like, "You need to be on TikTok." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You just need to be on TikTok." She was like, "You just need to go do that." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And at the time I was doing tarot and astrology. I mean, that's always been a part
Hmm.
of who I was. So I picked up my deck one day and started shuffling cards on the internet. And so that's how I have been able to grow the business I have today, although it looks much
Right.
different, but that's definitely where it all started for me. And a
Hmm.
lot of opportunities came from that. So, but yeah, I was shuffling cards on the internet for a very
Right.
long time. Yes. The
Okay.
the
Go ahead.
the south node coming for my midheaven. And I was like, oh, I probably need to make some changes now. And
Hmm.
I also think that yeah, doing things with the right intention, I think, is also really important. And I think when you lose the why to why you're
Yeah.
doing something, it's also time to change. And so I made a shift into what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm working back to my why for TikTok.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just afraid
TikTok is challenging.
yes. And so many people are afraid, they're desperately gripping on to this 500,000 follower account that they're not making any money from, but they just have, you know what I mean? There's this idea
Right.
that they have to keep going or keep pushing. And I was like, well, at the time I had 130,000 followers, and I was like,
Right.
but it's not, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of the same question. It just became really exhausting. And I think,
It is. It can
you
be.
know, when you
Hmm.
lose the essence of why you're doing your work, and don't get
Hmm.
me wrong, I loved my one-on-one client sessions, and they're
That's
still
different. Guys, I don't think people realize what TikTok takes. The creating of the content, the editing of the content, the management just in the energetical space because there's so much desperation coming at you.
that's it.
Hmm.
That's it. And Lori, I'm going to say this. I can't believe I'm going to say this on a podcast, but I felt like I was feeding hungry people, and I was
Yes.
exhausted of
Yeah.
their hunger and desperately wanting to know these answers that deep in my soul, I know only time will give you that answer. Only accruing your own wisdom will give you that answer. And I just felt like I was feeding this massive machine, and I'm
Yeah.
almost nearly morally not do it anymore. I could not answer your question about if your ex is coming back to you, right? And this is twofold because tarot readers know that that's how they're going to go viral. They know what to say to go
Right.
viral. I knew
Yeah.
exactly what I needed to say
Oh, absolutely.
to hit a
Yeah.
like so there's
Yep.
that part of it. But then it just became so exhausting, the question, like all of it. And I thought it's a whole different level of soul suck. And I just couldn't participate in the over it in all of it anymore.
It
I just
was,
couldn't.
yeah,
It felt
it gets
wrong.
to
It
be a
felt
lot.
wrong. Yeah. It, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, and since this is my podcast and I can say whatever I want, I used to get off alive, and I'm not talking about my supporters and our members in our community at the Awake Space. I'm not talking about that.
Ever.
Not
Ever.
about our
Yes.
clients, but just the public at large. And I will
The
say,
lives.
my folks are great about managing like the lives at this point. They're like, she doesn't talk about that. Piss off. But
Oh,
at the
I've
time,
noticed.
right? But they're very
Yeah.
protective. I appreciate it.
I've
But
noticed.
I would get off those lives and go, get off my tits. I am done. I am not
Yep.
breastfeeding. And my
Yeah.
father-in-law in the Middle East, if you gave him an unreasonable request, he would do this. He go, you think I have milk? I have no milk.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
I have the titties are dry. The amount of emotional desperation and the lack of, and I don't blame people completely. They haven't been educated. They didn't grow up reading mainly P. Hall or Annie
Yeah.
Besant or Rudolf Steiner or
Yeah.
Krishnamurti or you
Yeah.
know
Mhm.
um but the just it was a lot.
And I remember, you used to come into, I would do my astrology
Hmm.
taroscopes on Sunday nights, and it was this big
Hmm. I
production.
love
And,
those.
and what people didn't understand is that energy that took would wipe me out the next day. I was hungover from those, right?
Yeah.
And and I know that I produced that and I was really giving all of my energy into it and
Right.
whatever.
You live and learn.
But and quite frankly, it lit me up for a while too. It was so much fun, but it
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
when people, and I get it, people expect these things, you have a certain routine or a certain system, but what they didn't, I couldn't see clients on Mondays because I was so exhausted from that. It was like
Right.
having a hangover. And then it was to the point where, I'd miss one or two and people would be really riding my ass about it. And I thought, I don't think this is not why I'm doing this anymore. And
Right.
so it was, yes, I do want to qualify what I was speaking of earlier, absolutely had to do with going live on TikTok. A little bit of content creation to which I was out of alignment, but yes, about the lives, it
Mm.
was it just became really overwhelming and difficult and so draining that I stepped back from it and then eventually ended up stepping back from the app altogether. So, which has been interesting.
Well, sometimes we have to, and it's ebb and flow,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy when people are conditioned through traditional media sources that are paid for by corporate interests and
Yes.
sponsors and things, imagining, oh, they have all these people. And I think a lot of times they didn't understand in the metaphysical space, the real ones often were not monetizing and we're
Right.
teaching out of a sense of service because our intuition, our guides, our higher selves had pushed us in that
Yes.
direction for
A
2020,
100%.
2021, and 2022.
A
Yeah.
100%. And so much
Hmm.
of that time also, I was in such a flow state, right? I was like locked in and I was
Right.
channeling shit. A lot of times people
Yep.
will be like, what did you say? And I'm like, I don't
I don't
know. Like, I don't
know.
remember, right? Because I'm just in the
Right.
flow of that. And so
Yeah.
it was a lot. It was a lot and it absolutely served its purpose. And the people that I have served in that space, obviously I love, I honor, it was just such a great time and I
Huge.
made so many wonderful people in my life because of that. But
Yeah.
it definitely served its purpose and yeah, and it was kind of time to move on. And whatever part of my Scorpio rising, I just when I know something's dying, it's like I
Right.
cannot resuscitate it no matter how
Right.
hard I try. I'm like,
Nope. I'm right with you.
we're not
Hmm.
we're not resuscitate. It's just like
Hmm.
I can't make things come back to life. And so
Yep. When it's done,
I
it's
mean,
done.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's built a really beautiful, I mean, I owe so much of my career and everything I'm doing now to that I mean, I can't complain about it in a lot of ways, but
No,
it was
exactly.
difficult. Yeah.
I think it's important to understand we can speak truth
Yes.
and that it isn't necessarily a complaint. You can
Yes.
have an experience that is valuable. It's time for that experience to be over, but it is what gets you to the next thing.
To the next thing. Yeah.
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 And so for your next thing, you ended up moving to Crete.
Yes. Here we are.
Tell us about that
Yeah, let's talk
because that's
about it.
powerful.
Let's talk about it. So yeah, a little bit of the in between time, but with TikTok and the great opportunities that gave me, it gave me a lot of visibility also, like writing for Bustle and writing for online publications and just
Hmm.
doing a lot of really cool shit. And then it got to the point I kind of achieved everything that I wanted to do, right?
Right.
Within this, it was like, I think when you're a beginning tarot reader, you're like, oh, I want to do influencer events and I want to read for celebrities and I want to read for politicians and I want to
Hmm.
right? And it was like I had checked so many boxes. And then, like I said, it was when I saw that that south node coming for my midheaven, and this all weaves into the storyline altogether, but I knew Greece was this thing that was kind of out on the horizon. And so
Hmm.
I knew that I needed to make a change to scale my business if I wanted to make this happen, to
Right.
not only qualify for the digital nomad visa, but obviously to sustain myself. And if this is going to be a permanent thing, make sure that I had the finances coming in to buy property, like whatever. So, and that's when I really, 2020 into 2024 is when I really started leaning into the business coaching and doing that. And then 2024 was also the year, I don't know if you remember this, but I was in Greece and I was checking it out and trying to figure out, and I'd been here many times, but I was trying to figure out where I wanted to live. And that was when the genocide started and Israel had gone into Palestine. And I remember, who can I ask about this? Like, what am I going to do? So I remember texting you on TikTok, and I don't think at that point we'd ever had a conversation.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
And I was
I mean,
like, I
we'd
don't know
waved
what's
at each
gonna,
other on live.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, should I rush back to the US? And so, and you were just like, follow your intuition. Like, if whatever you need to do, like just follow your intuition.
Mhm.
And so at that point I had gone back to the States. And then, this last time, another astrological fact was my progressed moon. I was in my progressed lunar return in my ninth house, right? And
Oh,
so,
nice.
so, finding home abroad. So
Pretty literal.
yes. And I went to Paris for an event and then I ended up coming to Crete and I was like, well, this is it. And so a wild and magical succession of events happened that including getting introduced to an immigration attorney here in Athens and just things started to unfold. And, while all of that is happening, of course, I'm continuing to scale my business and coach and really kind of embody this new identity that I wanted to embody.
I love
And so
that.
I finally made the move in December 28th is when I landed here and I got my apartment. And so now I live in Hanya and I live a stone's throw away from the Mediterranean. It's literally right outside my door. And yes, the house that TikTok and tarot built is what I call this.
Right? I
So
love
yeah,
it. I love
yeah.
it. And a lot of times we hear what we can't do, and granted, we're from old school Pacific Northwest and we're Scorpio rising,
Mm,
so go ahead, tell us we can't do it. But a lot of people have internalized those messages to believe that they can't live life on their terms. And we both teach this in different arenas.
yes,
Um, a lot of it's social programming, cultural programming, and I really worry about our
big
younger
time.
people. We're kind of in like our age group, like we missed out on a lot of the economic booms. Like it would just be over while we
Yes,
were stepping out the door
yes,
every time.
every
Um,
time.
every
Yes,
time. But we did have this lucky educational bubble.
yes, we
We
did.
had the electric company with amazing cast on PBS. We had after school specials. We had really cool educational programs, at least in the Pacific Northwest in the summertime. Like summer
Yes.
school wasn't just for academic issues. You learned how to tool leather and what have you,
Yes. Or ride horses or
ride
yes.
horses or, things, make things.
Uh-huh.
I was taking computer coding classes at
I was just going to
11.
say that computer stuff
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
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 So we got really lucky with that. And I
Yes.
worry about, especially people in my daughter's age group, my son's age group, because even though I made sure things were different for them,
Yeah.
what was going on with No Child Left Behind, I see it every day in
Hmm.
social media. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and so those social messages were really strong about what they can't do.
Yeah. Yes.
How, how do we counter that? I mean, I've got my programs, you've got your programs, but what
Yeah.
can we do to help encourage people and understand? Is it just being a living example? I mean,
Yeah.
tell
I
tell me about your day. What does your day look like that you've built for you?
yeah. So I do think by living an example, I think that's a powerful piece of it. But I also think for entrepreneurs to be able to bridge that gap with something that can say, well, this is how I did it, or these are the steps that I took, and this is what you can do also, right? And I know we
Right.
both have our teaching things too, and so that's great. But so I think that that's helpful. I'm a big believer in two things, and that is money in the hands of women and also just resources. And that's a lot of the women that I work with are resource women, right? That I work with women in
Right.
the financial sector that want to teach women about money. I work with real estate
Hmm.
brokers that want to teach women about buying their first properties, like all of that stuff.
Right.
And so I think I think by having women representation in this area is a powerful nod to the possibility that we're stepping into. And so I like to
Yes.
remind myself of that by the people that I surround myself with, the people that I serve. And then, so yeah, the living example and the embodiment of it, because I think people don't know it's possible until you look at
Right.
my Instagram stories and they're like, what is she doing? And it's like, I moved to Greece, right? So
Right.
yes, I have a truly wonderful, a little bit of a surreal setup at the moment. But yeah, so I get up in the morning and I go to my cafe in my village. I have coffee, I do a little bit of work. And then I'll take, round probably from like 10 to about 2, and I'll go to the beach or I'll walk to city center or I'll just go explore and enjoy and just,
Hmm.
kind of just float around and then get back to my place. I see clients from 5 to 9 usually. And so my evenings, what was morning client sessions has been offset because of the time difference. And so I see clients in the evening and yeah, and it's great. I'm not afraid to go outside at midnight. So if I want to get done with my client sessions and go, walk around and kind of
Nice.
decompress from the day, I'll do that. But, I was talking to a friend this morning. I buy all of my fruits and vegetables and everything from local farmers. So I have
Right.
to wash the dirt off of my carrots when I get them. And like, it's
Hmm.
just, so
That's
yeah,
the
it's been,
best.
but that's really, that's my daily life. And it wouldn't be possible had I not seen someone else do it. I think that's powerful.
I think,
And
yeah.
then also
Yeah.
creating resources for myself, right? Like this is, I have not had any, nobody's helped me with where I am now. You know what I mean? Nobody's helped me really to get to where I am. And I mean, outside support of having to ask for financial help or anything like that. Like this has been a one woman show. And so,
Yeah, I get it. Mhm.
so I've had to make money as I
Yep.
go. I've had to really also, it's not all we're swimming in the Mediterranean today. There's been some,
Right.
there's
No, there's a shit
and
moments.
there's
There is those
yeah,
shit moments, and it's like,
yes,
shit, I forgot I had to pay that, and it's like,
yes, yeah,
that bill, that's
yeah,
a sizable bill. I better get on it,
yes,
and
yes,
you take care of it, but it's those moments that you do take care
yes,
of,
yes. That you're
and
like,
then
oh,
you're
I'm
like,
taking care of it. Yeah,
She-Ra.
yes,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I was
And I
so
think,
excited to see you doing it, because we do need more women living life as uncompromised
yeah,
and un unfettered as possible. Just
especially at
doing it.
our age, like I'm not quitting anytime soon. And that's,
No.
I just turned 55
Hmm.
and
You
I,
did.
I, I literally am living in the life that I dreamed for myself. The first time I was at Delphi, which is very funny because the Oracle of Delphi, I was there in
Right.
2006. Know thyself, right? And a
Right.
seed was planted, and I didn't know how I was going to get here, but I
Hmm.
just knew that if it were ever possible, I would seize the moment, right? And this
Right.
wasn't a byproduct of like manifesting or vision boards or whatever. This has just been a lot of following my own intuition and a lot of blood.
Ultimate, that is the ultimate manifestation, because
Yes.
manifestation just means to reveal what is there. That's all it means.
Aha.
It already
Yes. That
exists.
makes
It
so much
just means
sense.
to reveal. And
That makes
people
so
keep
much sense.
I am like Inigo Montoya. People keep using that word. They don't mean what I think it means.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
and we are always creating every single day.
Yes. And you don't need to
Ev-
be in some vibe or like, I don't need to be in the fifth dimension to make my dreams come true. It was like, no, I just followed what I knew that I needed to do, the next right thing in front of me. Like, I'm not different and I'm not special and I'm not anything other than anyone else. It takes
All
a little bit
humans
of courage.
we
Yes. And
co-create our existence.
yes.
Yes.
And it takes a
Hmm.
little courage and a little tenacity and some
Yeah.
ambition and
Yeah.
an ability to say if this doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. I don't need to hang my
Right.
hat on everything. And if I want to
Yeah.
move to Greece, and Laurie, if I feel like by the end of June, I'm like, you know what, I don't want to live here. Guess what? We're going to pack it up and head somewhere else. I don't believe that's going to happen, of course, but it
Right.
takes the
But you
flexibility of
have
those
that
things too. Yes,
flexibility and
yes,
realizing that you can do it. And
yes.
yeah, I mean, that's how I left the first time. I had no idea what I was doing when I was 18 and I took a one-way ticket out of the country. I wasn't ever coming
Hmm.
back. I did end up coming back.
Yes.
But at 18, I was never coming back.
Went
Screw
out guns
that
blazing.
small town. See you later,
Yep.
losers.
Suckers.
I
Yep.
had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. And it was
Yeah.
terrifying. And
Yes.
did I often make decisions that young people make, which aren't always full of wisdom? Yeah. And then you survive them, and that's how you build
Yes.
wisdom. Old chicks know shit because
Yes.
we survived the stuff we didn't know better
Yes.
about when we were younger.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't do it wrong. I mean, you
Yeah.
really can't. Like Abraham Six Hicks says, you can't ever get it done, and you're never gonna get it right.
Right.
So
Yes.
just do things.
Yes.
It's not
And I
all,
think,
you're never gonna be finished. You're gonna keep
right,
learning, and I like that.
exactly. And
Hmm.
I think one of the things too, people get so caught up in the decisions that they make. It's like, oh, I committed to this and I have no other choice. And it's like, mm, you have choice. You have choice. You know what I mean? It's this weird gaslighting thing we do to
Did
ourselves.
you
It's
take a
like,
blood oath?
yeah. And it's like for me to say like, that if I were to turn back on one of my dreams and it didn't work out, it just didn't work out. And that's okay. Like I give myself permission. And this is Gemini sun, my fifth degree
Right,
Gemini sun. I give myself permission to go in every which way, in every direction I need to,
right.
right? Like this is what
Yeah.
I'm going to do.
Follow
And
what's
so,
working is me. Hmm.
exactly. And so I find a lot of people are like, well, I took this job and so will think that, or I married this person and this is, what I have to be doing. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, and that's one of the great gifts of Gemini, I think, is just adaptation and
The
and
ability
and
to adapt is
being
huge for
available for,
changeable. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
for
and
perspective.
you have that beautiful Jupiter Neptune conjunction that everybody born in 70, well, not everybody, but most everybody has from
Yeah,
71. Um, and that's really magical in your chart too. So you're able to
yeah.
kind of turn lemons into lemonade, and your gut feels out. Yes, I have seen Amy's chart. So I'm not going to tell everything. I don't breach
Oh, I don't mind.
confidentiality.
It's
But
okay.
you do
You can
have
say,
that magic in your chart, and everybody has
yeah,
their own particular magic.
of
Everybody does.
course.
And we've
Yes.
been taught we don't. So you want to have retreats.
I do want to have retreats. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about doing something in September or October with just a very more
Select crew.
private event,
Hmm.
maybe 4 or 5 people. This might sound familiar, but yeah,
Hmm.
just a small group of women that want to come that really just want to break out of whatever cycles you're in. Let's break out of it. Let's do it geographically. Let's also do it spiritually and psychologically. So I'll do
Hmm.
that. And then 2027, I would love to curate, including yourself, like the top tier astrologers that I know, and just host everyone here for something. I don't even know. Maybe we could all just hang out,
A
but
convergence.
just, yes, and like just do, yeah. So I've got some retreat opportunities coming up for sure. So yeah,
I
I'm
love
excited
that.
about it.
So when you
So,
work with these women, I just want to plug you a little bit. When you work with
oh
these
yeah.
women, you help them kind of move. So like I was a business development coach and
Wow.
strategist half as long as I am and been an astrologer. So
Oh,
um,
this makes sense. Yes.
right. And
Yeah.
so because they're both helping people succeed and beat the economic trap that we have, especially in the United States, but it is global.
Yes.
But helping people be more independent and interconnected instead of
Yes.
divided and basically serfs paying to work,
Yes.
because you are.
Yes.
Most people are paying to work when you look at your
Yes.
tax bill because your company isn't paying those taxes.
100%.
Yeah, so you're paying for your job. Just
Yes.
saying.
I'm well
But
clear on that.
not that
Yeah.
I have strong opinions about that. But in I was already like I had 1,000 followers on TikTok, and I walked in monetized. I already had a thriving business. I did not need TikTok. In fact, I initially, once I blew up on TikTok, lost money. I lowered my prices as an act of service.
I
And what
think
I
I
ended
remember that.
yeah, and then when I raised them back up and I closed my books down a bit, people were like, "Oh, now that you're TikTok famous, you raise your prices." I'm like, "That's actually what my prices were, bitch."
I remember this, Laurie. Why do I remember
Mhm.
this?
Oh, man, it was a little bit of a kerfuffle. That's why I got
Yes.
fat. I'm defatting. I got so big, bigger than
Really?
I've ever been. Yeah. Yeah, bigger than I'd ever been in my life, like bigger than when I was pregnant because I read 7 days a week to make up for me lowering my price as an act of service to help people in
You're my
2023.
ideal client. That version of Lori
Hmm.
would be my
Yeah.
ideal client. It's the people that are overgiving, that are underserving, that are
Hmm.
tired of one-on-one sessions, that want to scale their business, that don't know what direction to go in, that don't know what a productive and proficient offer suite looks like, that don't know how to put
Right.
all of those things together so you can
Right.
actually layer your income. So
Yep.
you, like me, I'm in session 3, maybe 4 days a week, and the rest of the time I have all of this time that I bought back because I have systems that support my
Systems
life.
in place.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. And so
I,
that's,
I
yes,
I've had my
that's,
books closed more than they've been open for the last year. But I have
yes.
people who read under me. So we have wonderful Damien, Shelby, and Susie, and they are all remarkable professionals.
Huh?
Absolutely at Woke Astrology and wokeastrology.com. And then I teach
Uh-huh.
more. I haven't, honestly, I haven't taught either. I've taught some.
Yeah.
I need to get back to it. I've been creating.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and that's the other piece too, right? When you free up your time, when you're not doing that, booking yourself back to back or white knuckling when the next booking is coming in because you need the money from that
Right,
survival mode space that so many
right,
practitioners, astrologers, tarot readers get
right.
themselves in.
Coaches too. That
Coaches in
hustle for
general,
clients.
I
Jeez.
have, yes, yes. And so
Yep,
that's the other piece is it makes it very spacious for, evolved spirituality or evolving your spirituality for your
yep,
creativity,
yep.
for what you can actually, going further into your life purpose. Those things get real freed up when you're not on the grind and hustle. And so, but yeah, yeah, that version of Lori, I would have done something much
Lori
with me.
knew better and was
I know.
following her guidance. And the minute my guidance was like, stop,
Yeah.
I stopped.
Yeah.
It was for a moment in time, and I knew I could
Yeah.
survive it
Yes.
barely. And
Yeah.
I'm like, did I have to get fat? And my guidance was like, we didn't say don't
Oh,
walk.
yes. Yeah.
Didn't
But
say don't walk.
the other thing too that's interesting, and this is just from a business perspective, so many people just are, they devalue, specifically in the astrology tarot space, they'll do these flash sales or like, this is my readings are 50% off. And it's like,
Yeah,
it really confuses people who would otherwise see value in your work if you could just hold tight at what
right,
you charge.
right.
But like there's so much incongruency and people that go live and charge $10 for a reading, which believe me, I totally understand. At some point you have to evolve out of that. And if you want a business and if you want to live in Greece and if you want to, travel
Be
like
in
you're
London
doing
with your
with your
adult
daughter,
daughter
yeah, like
running a business in separate
yes,
rooms even because
yes,
it's hot as hell and you don't want to kill each
it's
other.
you have to figure
Yeah.
out a different way to do it. And that's really where I like to meet people is in, I want people to scale and have line their pockets with money.
Yeah, learning to scale is really, really important. When you can't just one-on-ones is very depleting. It's a lot of energy, even as an astrologer, because being an intuitive, like if you're doing psychic work or card,
Yes.
that's one set of skills. Astrology is another
Yes.
set of skills, and it tends to be more frontal lobe. Scaling your own business is important. In 2023, I decided to put more energy into my podcast and make it more real, right?
Yes.
And because I didn't start with a podcast. In fact, my membership did not support the podcast at first because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
I started it months later and I didn't tell anybody right away. I was just goofing off and honestly just
Yeah.
swearing. I
Nice.
went on to swear and say whatever the hell I
Uh-huh.
wanted to say because
Yes.
I was tired of people's children are watching. I'm like, take their phones. You are a parent. You are
Yeah.
in charge. Parent your child. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus, I raised mine. People thought
Yeah.
I was an asshole when I raised my kids because I'd be like, no. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, but I want to. And I'd be like,
I
no.
don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my job is to say no.
No.
Anyway.
Yes.
Um, and I was a parenting instructor, so yes, they got resiliency built into them while I said no.
Yes.
But because it's not abuse to say no.
Correct.
Anyway,
Oh,
to ourselves either. It's okay to
yeah.
put yourself to bed. Go, you're working too late. Get your ass into
Yes.
bed, Lori.
Yep.
Self-parent.
Yep. It's 10 p.m.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where you are? At her age, that becomes important.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yes.
scaling is really, really important. And not that I don't work with business owners, I do. That is
Yeah.
where I tend to do more one-on-one bespoke, tailored work.
Yes.
And I love, in fact, I have an Australian client that I need to get a hold of. They've got a restaurant, well, they've got a kind of a restaurant. It's a food cart. It's a really cool business model for a food cart.
Yeah.
Okay. We've
Yes.
developed it. Woman owned and supporting women
Yes.
be more than a little
100%.
bit successful, understanding what success means. But I love that you're helping people build a scalable model so
Yep.
they too can go be whimsical. It gives you a measure. You and I were talking before
Mhm.
you came on, and I was sharing with you some of how I built where I'm at,
Yes.
and you're like, yes. It has never been about the money. The money
Yeah.
is about being resourced.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
And I've been, when you've been Poe,
When you've been Poe. When you've been Poe.
real poor, no money. When you have had to start over and you
Huh?
get to a certain age, and that's, you know, it's not as like, I can't restart again, not at
Yeah.
56. If I
Yeah.
had to, I suppose I'd figure it out. But the amount of energy we give, and I think that's where I was going before my thing, the amount of energy we give, whether
Yeah.
we're coaching, because we as individuals are light workers, energy
Yes.
workers, and whether the modality itself is energetical or mental,
Yeah. Yeah.
we are co-creating a space for a client.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I hate to see, back to your point about scaling, it's like, I, the person that just keeps doing more of the same thing to try to change it hates to see me coming. Because it's like, if
Right.
you're still just getting on here and you're just posting the same things and you just don't have any
Right.
strategy and you don't know your why and like you don't, but a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of practitioners fall away over the last couple of years because they almost just don't know where to go and what they're doing isn't working and they're
Right.
thinking of everything, you know. And also I infuse astrology literally into everything I do, so I'm also
Right.
using their chart and their, you know, their strategy that comes
Right.
from that.
Right.
But there's a way to not just keep doing the same thing and to grow your business. And also it
Right.
isn't about the money is good insofar as you are living the life that you want to live. And if that is buying a
And you can
Bentley,
pay your
then go buy the
bills. Yeah.
Bentley. If you want to live in a $500 apartment in Crete, then by all means do that
Right.
too, you know?
Right.
So I think,
Yeah. Yeah. And money is the result of a successful process. That's all it is. It's a
yes. Oh, I
successful
love that.
process. It's
I love
not,
that.
it's one of
Yes.
my quotes that I do in, when I teach
Yes.
entrepreneurism and I combine it with astrology, because astrology reflects everything. And
Yes.
just like you are doing now, when I was starting as a business developer and strategist, coach,
Mm-hmm.
people didn't like the word coach, so I found other words.
Yes.
If the client was open to, because I was up in Washington State and they were not open to metaphysics, 15 years ago, was not the time. I would have
Yes.
lost all street cred.
Mhm.
But if a client was open, I was like, look, this can take us 6 months, or we can do it in 6 weeks.
Yep.
Give me your astrology details.
Yes. Yep.
Because if I didn't have that, I could give a good guess and kind of, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't know for sure. And I
Right.
would be able to take that chart and go, all right, here's the transits coming up. Okay, this is what we're going to avoid. This is where we're going to put into
Uh-huh.
motion. And
Uh-huh.
that is what astrologers have always done. And I think people really
Yes.
don't understand it. That is the primary job of an
Yes.
astrologer,
Yes.
is to help your clients
100%.
navigate where things are going. And you can
Yep.
teach people how to set up a business that works better for their chart. That's what healing the
Huh?
money wound is about. It's not about business per se. It
Right.
is about teaching people how to understand their own energy schematics, basically, your
Uh-huh.
own what fulfills you. And
Yes.
I think the more people we have like yourself who have ethics, who have standards, who are in it to win it with their clients, helping
Mm.
them grow their businesses, I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Love to see it. Love to see a lady win. Love to see men
Love to
win
see a
too.
lady win.
Great.
Yeah, and
It's
high-fiving the whole way.
yeah. And it lights me up. It's just energy that lights me up. And I think that Virgo midheaven really loves like infrastructures. And that's
Hmm.
the name of my coaching. The business coaching is like, the architect. Yeah, so it's
Oh, I
where we
love that.
really get in, we do the foundations, then the scaffolding, then we
I love
build
that.
and then the support. And so
Yeah.
it's work that really, really lights me up. And so yeah, I love it. I love that I've let go to the evolution of who I could be and didn't desperately grip on to like what the only thing that I thought was ever going to work for me. That's also been a major identity shift, and a major part of this process is just like, no, you can trust yourself. We're going to move through
Yeah.
this little weird season of like, who knows how 127,000 people on TikTok are going to respond to this shift, but we're going to do it because we're not looking
Right.
back. And so that's also been it's also just to witness myself, and not to be self-aggrandizing at all, but like to witness
Oh,
myself, and that evolution has just also been, I'm so grateful that I bet on myself again.
yeah.
So, and took the chance. So yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that. Bet on yourself. The house always
absolutely.
wins, and you're the house.
Yeah,
Amy, it
absolutely.
is such a pleasure. I will have
This
all of
was
your
so
links to
great.
put in the show notes. Guys, you can check out Amy.
And
She is only going to have a few select spaces this fall for
yes,
her group of it's a mystical experience. We talked a little bit
yes,
about it. It's a mystical
yes,
experience, really tuning
yes,
into your co-creative abilities with the divine. You're in
yes.
Crete. It couldn't be more connected. And was it which goddess? Was it we were talking about that? There's one near where you're at.
Artemis?
Yes, Artemis.
Artemis, yes, the goddess of the
Hmm.
moon and the hunt. Yes. Yes,
Right?
there's the Temple of Artemis, and then also there's some Athena energy here also that I've been able to detect. But yes. And if anyone wants information about that, they can DM me, they can email me from my website, amyphilbin.com, basically. And yeah, this has been so great
Yeah.
to do this, Laurie.
Check the show notes and make sure if you
Check the
want in
show
on
notes.
that divine co-creative
Yes,
energy, you get on it because there's only a few
in
spaces.
Greece, in Greece of
Anyway,
all places. Thank you, Laurie. I'll see
so
you
good to
soon.
connect. Much love. Take care, hon. Wasn't Amy wonderful? We just had the best conversation. That was so nice to connect. And the fact that we're both born in Portland and grew up in the same kind of time period, just very interesting because Portland's a small town. Okay, Portland's a small town. It was a small town, like even more small back in the 80s and early 90s. It was not now, I mean, the traffic's so bad because nobody ever thought anybody would move there. It rained all the time, right? Um, but here we are. I think with Venus conjunct Jupiter, I think it's really important to look at women doing it. Look, women building their lives. We can bitch and whine and moan about men not doing this, or men standing in the way, or men taking over, or society not blah, 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 blah. And we can, or we can just do things. And I think it's important to do what you can. I did not start where I'm at. This is not where I started. I started in a bedroom in my jammies, goofing off, kind of. And I'm not talking about the podcast, even with the astrology. It was something that just kind of happened. I jumped into it. I never thought I would charge money to be an astrologer. I didn't have a problem charging money because burned my brain by learning it because real astrology is not simple to learn. Okay, what you see, 90% of the people making content out there, they're not real astrologers. They're just talking about astrology and they're regurgitating information. But when you're a real astrologer, you're diving deep and you're doing the math and you're doing the processes, you're doing the technique, and it's mind bending. And the only reason was because when I came back to the States and was having trouble getting a job, and I saw there were exotic dancer positions open. Remember, I was 29, I was cute, and I was very close to my teacher, William, and I sent him a message and I said, I don't know, I think I'm gonna have to try out for one of those exotic dancer positions. His response, because we were like on ICQ, which was like instant messaging, right? And his response was, oh no, I've seen your chart. You're going to fall off the stage. Just put your shingle out as an astrologer. So I had a choice. And I did, and I didn't charge enough. I didn't think I was ready. I was ready. I had devoted, and he was like, I don't know anybody who has been as obsessed as you are in your studies. It was if I was awake, I was studying astrology for multiple years. It wasn't just something I picked up, took a class on, put it down, went about life, came back to it. No, it was every moment of every day. Like my daughter has very clear memories of sitting on my lap while I was hand drawing charts. And and I didn't have a problem charging. I just didn't charge enough because I didn't know what people charged. I had no idea. And that's how I got started. And so I didn't start here. I didn't start to be in a position if I could have afforded to go to London when my kids were little, we would have gone to London when they were little. I couldn't. I built what I have, just like Amy is building and has built the life she lives. It's so, so important. So, so important. You can't wait to be picked. You have to pick yourself. You have to pick you. You can't wait till somebody says you're ready. And I realized that happened kind of with William when, I had a choice, but he was like, it was more like he wasn't saying you are a fantastic astrologer. He was like, you're gonna fall off a stage. I've seen your chart. You and your Sag Mars. And then I was like, not too wrong. I don't have depth perception. I would not have done the other job well. I highly respect those who can and who are coordinated. I'm not one of those people. But I still had to figure it out. I had to figure out, oh, I'm not charging enough. Oh, well, I should charge more and learn how to communicate it. My early readings, in my effort to prove accuracy, I triggered the living hell out of people. And that made me feel awful, you know. And I don't know if you remember the British astrologer Jonathan Caner. I was on his message board and I was having a debate on the message board after knowing I had triggered somebody. I could see their body language. They went from engaged to get me out of here. If I could climb out of my own skin, I would. And I was trying to get to this part where I could help them manage and navigate it. But we didn't have client training. We didn't have communications training. That's why I train astrologers. Like when I'm teaching astrology, I train how to communicate information so that it doesn't leave people struggling or triggered. It's so important. Trauma informed is an aspect of it, being trauma informed, but being able to communicate in ways where you don't have to be the sage on the stage, you can be the guide on the side. And sometimes people aren't ready for that information and learning to gauge when it's the right time, right, is important. And so I was on this message board just pouring my heart out, going, I feel so bad. I know that I didn't help this person. I didn't help my client because I really triggered them. And there's got to be a better way. Does anybody know of any resources, that I can read? And that's where I really got into Noel Teal's work. He had as a clinical psychologist, he had a body of work on communicating the horoscope to clients that I found for $1 a piece. I got the whole collection. The universe was helpful. But Jonathan Keener reached out to me in a private message and he said, Laurie, it's better to be there than right. And so I kept that with me. It's always better to be with our clients, be there for our clients than have to prove how right we are in how we deliver information. I believe so strongly in that. But anyway, nobody ends up at perfection, is what I'm trying to get to. I know I digressed, but nobody ends up at the finish line by not doing the journey, not doing the race. You have a beginning, you have a middle and an end, and the middle is usually the longest part, right? Usually is. It's just the longest part. So I'm going to tell you, get started now, because the longer you wait to start the journey, the longer the journey is going to take. And that's what I got to say this week on the Awake Space podcast. Make sure you check out the show notes. Remember, you can save 50% on annual memberships. Now is the time. If you're a brand new member, I can't offer that to existing members. I wish I could, guys. But you also can check out the 2027 preparation and predictions event. That's where I go through the year ahead, month by month. I give you how to deal with the energy, what I think is going to be happening through the year. And you'll get the digital version of the 2027 astrology planner. All right, big love. Talk to you next week.